Prater and the Ballgame are counting down the days to the start of spring football on March 2nd. The hottest topics on Bronco football.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Countdown to camp on Sports Radio 95.3 FM and 1350 AM. The Ticket.
And it is our video segment. Bob Behler sitting in for Johnny Ballgame today alongside Mike Prater. And Mike, you've had a number of different topics on Boise State football, and today we look at the running back room. George Holani, Ashton Jeanty. What are the plans? Can they use them both together? Should they use them both together? What do you see for both guys in 2023?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think we can kind of map it out. Even though Boise State has a brand new offensive coordinator, they got a brand new running back coach. So we don't exactly know where they're going to go with this. Spring camp opens up on Thursday. We'll get some access to some coaches this week and kind of get it figured out, and then we'll certainly watch over the next couple of weeks. April 12th, I believe, is that Saturday is the spring game.
I thought it was the 8th. No?
Whatever that second Saturday is, and then with that spring game, with that spring break in between. So we're going to learn a lot about this new offense over the next couple of weeks. Holani and Jeanty. Boise State, regardless of the offensive coordinator, has always been pretty hesitant to put two big alpha male running backs in the backfield at the same time. I'm not suggesting they do that here. It'd be fun to watch those two get after it, but I'm very curious because you have two starting running backs, including the senior incumbent who's supposed to have all the respect and all the glory in the world, and then the incoming Ashton Jeanty. Last year he was an incoming guy, so he's the new guy who's supposed to be the face of that running back room moving forward for the next couple of years. It's a very delicate situation. They're going to both want their carries. Could this be one of those rare situations where, both of them get, let's say both of them get 200 carries? That'd be crazy, but I think it can happen.
I think it can. I think the question will be, how will it happen?
Yeah.
And I'm doing some research here, Prater, crunching some numbers, looking back at why split backs that was so predominant in, say, the 70s and 80s went away. We'll start with the numbers.
Okay.
Over 1,100 yards rushing for Holani, over 800 for Jeanty. So, again, both guys over 1,000. I think that's going to be a lock this year, assuming they're healthy.
Both of them.
Both over 1,000.
Nice.
I think it's going to happen.
Nice.
I think it's going to happen. But if you look at it, Boise State rarely threw the ball to the backs in last year's offense. We look at the receiving numbers. Holani in 13 games caught 24 passes. So that's basically 2 catches a game, for an average of just 11 yards. Jeanty caught 14 passes for the exact same number of yards. So he also had 11 catching yards per game, but only 1 catch average, 14 games, 14 yards. So I think maybe one of the bigger questions is, are they willing to throw to the backs? I think in Boise State's offense last year, the running backs, you kept hearing about pass pro.
Yep.
I think the running backs with the receivers Boise State had was more interested in keeping the running back in the block and didn't get them out into the pattern as much, maybe as some other teams that throw to the backs a lot, almost as safety valves or screen passes. A lot of what were used as screen passes were the bubble to the receivers, where one of the receivers was out front blocking and the other one behind caught. So maybe there's a way to get the ball to those guys via the pass a little more. So maybe it won't be a big rushing number, but maybe you pick up some more yardage. Now, I have always felt on the defensive side of the ball, you got to get your best 11 guys on the field.
Yep.
I don't know if I honestly go with that on offense as well, because 5 of your guys on offense have to be offensive linemen, and one of them is going to be a quarterback. But does it maybe apply to the other 4 people that are wide receivers / running backs? Get your best playmakers on the field?
Ooh, you would have to think that Holani and Jeanty qualify for that, or even if that number is small, even if we're looking at 5 or 6 players, they're certainly one of those. That's, Andy Avalos preaches that all the time, but I have a feeling that he probably won't go there. And you're thinking along the lines that I was too, in terms of the one way they can enhance both these guys and get them both involved would be through the passing game, because they're both pretty good at it. I think George is just a little bit better, but I think Ashton's really good at it as well. So, if they can get both those guys some serious touches out of the backfield. The blocking thing, I didn't think about that, Bob, and that concerns me a little bit. If the offensive line goes south, I would hate to think that we're going to have to use one of the 2 big running backs to help with pass protection, but that's kind of been the case around here, and it's always the case, even with a good football team, to have your running back do that kind of stuff. But I certainly don't want that to be a priority with either one of those guys. Hopefully the offensive line, maybe some of those edge guys, the tight ends are going to have some questions, and that's a big part of this whole blocking scheme. And so I think that's going to affect exactly what you and I are talking about. But, I don't want to see him blocking all the time.
Reading articles keyed in, why was two backs successful in the 70s and early 80s, and then why did it go away? It said if you use split backs, and we're not talking about the old I formation where one guy's the fullback and the other guy's the tailback. We're talking about basically two halfbacks, tailbacks used
side by side.
Yep. And it said one of the advantages was in passing with two guys, one on either side of the quarterback, that you enhance your ability to pick up against the blitz.
Absolutely.
Because you got somebody on either side of the quarterback. But you also enhance the ability, because they're not on the line being covered at the line, you enhance the ability for them to slip out in the pass on the, pretty much, short, maybe to either side of the middle of the field. So I don't know. Can Boise State be a trendsetter and bring back split backs and two running backs in the backfield at the same time?
I want to say yes. You're the smarter guy. I'm the more emotional guy. We like that idea, right? What's the downside of putting Holani and Jeanty in like that? I love that.
I think the downside would be that, especially if you're going to pound them into the line in that formation, that, maybe more plays, they get a little more tired as opposed to having a fresh running back in all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing, follow along. Another area that I'm thinking maybe they can take advantage of is on returns. Last year, Holani had the highest punt return average on the team at 7.5. He didn't return a whole lot of punts, only 11 during the season, and pretty much midway through the season after he'd been hurt, they did not have him on punt returns. But if healthy, I would think that running back a kick or running back a punt would be something that would be kind of strenuous. So if on a play you have one of the two back there returning either kick or punt, you could start the series with the other one who's fresh on the sidelines. So I would think it might be a way to get both of these guys on the field. I think a lot of times one play on a special teams on a return can make a bigger deal than, one or two or five carries from the line of scrimmage. So I'm wondering if, because you have two of them that you value the same, I'm wondering if maybe if one of them ends up being a real good kick returner, another one ends up a real good punt returner, you would be more willing to use them in return situations.
It certainly has that option has to be on the table, and certainly they're going to play around with that in the spring. And I like that thought. Although I'm not sure George Holani came back to be a special teams guy, but yeah, he is the punt return guy. Jeanty didn't have any. I think he had one kick return.
Yeah, one kick return for 22 yards and did not. He never went back for a punt return.
Was that on purpose? The kick return, was it a short one? Was he an up guy, or was that?
I think he might have been. I don't remember. I don't even remember. I just looked at the stats and saw one for 22. Yeah. But I don't mean that you come back for that, but you can do that amongst other things.
Yeah.
I love them both. I think this is, they don't look, like when I think of two running backs for 1,000 yards, Zonka and Morris come into my mind in the early 70s with the undefeated Dolphins, where one of them was more of a quick runner, where Zonka was more of a fullback type. Yep. But the idea where you use two people equally, I think if you ask me at this stage, are they both going to get 1,000 yards? If you told me they both would play 11 out of the 12 regular season games, if both get 11 games, I'll say yes.
I mean, Jeanty was only 155 yards short last year, so it's certainly within the numbers. And Taylor Green is going to certainly play a role in this in terms of, what kind of expectations are Bush Hamdan going to ask for him in terms of running the football? Last year he ran the ball 81 times for 645 yards. Do you want to continue that? He's really good at it. It's going to be very tempting, but do you want to keep pushing that with him?
But if you'll notice, in some games they ran him more than others. So I think they ran him when either they thought the numbers were there, like the first game against San Diego State, I think they ran him. And then the second game that he played, I think it was Holani and it was Jeanty that had the big game, because I think it was Fresno in the second game. It was like, oh, we can't get beat by Green. So they were worried about stopping him. I think if you've got either one or two running backs behind Green, boy, that's a tough ask for the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, it's brutal, especially when Green's going to get all his runs outside. And when a specific play or a specific defensive look is going to open that up for Taylor Green. So, he can be your outside rushing specialist. That's not really Georgia's style. And Ashton likes to play up and beat up people in the middle. So, they all have a different variety. I don't want Taylor Green going up the middle. I would even cut back on those 81 carries. 81 carries in 12, 13, 14 games. That's still, even though he's really good at it, and they're going to be very, very tempted to push his buttons as much as humanly possible, I would really, really fight. It's almost like asking Marcus Shaver not to drive to the hoop. That's not going to happen. But, 1 out of 10 times he's going to get hurt, and you're going to have to go, crap, why did that happen? So, Taylor Green, you're not going to be able to pull him back from running the football. But when you got Jeanty and Holani that can very much be very capable of taking care of business, even though Holani's got, a history of being hurt all the time, you can roll the dice because you've got a little bit of depth there.
Yeah. But when you look at Boise State's offense, the threat of a good running quarterback changes the whole dynamic of that offense.
Yeah.
And I think if, you got to do it enough, number one, to move the chains at key times, but number two, enough so that they really do worry about Taylor Green. If that really is an option for Boise State, the option could be, I'm not saying run the option where you have the dive back, which you could have, and then the pitch back and the keeper, but it's still a choice of two. I guess a choice of three if you fake the handoff to the running back and then pull back. We didn't see a whole lot of that last year on a play action off of what looked to be his own read.
Bob, when we get Bushhampton this week, and I think we will remind me to talk to him. We need to talk to him about how he's going to handle these guys and what are the pros and cons from a high elite coaching staff in terms of putting both of them on there at the same time. I want to know why they don't do it more or why they haven't ever done it, period.
And I think maybe the question, not just at Boise State, but why has it gone out?
There you go.
Because it was very popular for a long, long time when football featured, 60% run and probably 40% pass plays. So we'll see. I think it's an intriguing thought. And certainly I think when you look at what's coming back, Prater, there's certainly a lot more depth and a lot more known commodities on the offensive side of the ball, where last year I would have said the flip, that it was the defensive side.
This is a countdown for camp series. It's an 8-day series leading up to Boise State football fall camp. Kicks off on Thursday. We'll do it again tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, and then certainly for the next month, we will follow Boise State's spring camp and get you caught up to date on Boise State football and what they're doing.
Do we have a topic tomorrow yet, or am I kept in the dark and we ready to go tomorrow?
Oh, I like to keep you in the dark.
Well, that's true.
Let's decide right here on the air. Let's see. I got my little list here.
Okay.
You want to pick one? We can rank the new assistants.
Okay.
There's 3 assistants. We've met them all 3. We can kind of rank them any way we want. We can talk about the ongoing development of Austin Bolt. Although I'd like to talk to a coach before we dive into that, because I need to know exactly how healthy he is. I'm assuming he's perfectly fine. It was a leg, it was a bone, it wasn't a knee, and by all accounts, he's out there running around doing his thing. So, what about new redshirt freshmen or the 8 early enrollees? Which one of those do you expect to rise up in spring camp and be contributors in the fall? How about we take a look at that tomorrow?
Okay. Where we think somebody might be able to be a new person coming in fresh. All right, do that.
Let's do it.
Never miss a moment of Idaho sports talk. You can download the new KTIK app, listen to the ticket live wherever you are, anytime you want. Or you can go back and check out the IST shows and interviews you may have missed. Plus Bronco Focus, Scott Slants, and much more. Get the KTIK app today. Spring training has started. Games got going over the weekend. Plenty of new rules. What do you have to watch for, and why are the rules there? What are they supposed to accomplish for baseball? That's next on Sports Radio, The Ticket.